Welcome back to Behind the Vocals, episode 4. This week we are featuring the one and only Zachary Farris of Keep Close. It was a fantastic episode. I really enjoyed having him on. It was an honor and a privilege to chat with him, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. What's up, sir? Welcome in. I hope I didn't
What's up, man?
I hope I didn't mispronounce your last name. If I did, dude, just blame it on Tennessee and Tennessee education. Zachary Farris, correct?
Yeah,
dude.
Like Ferris Bueller.
Yes, I said Ferris wheel earlier, and I was like, watch that be wrong, and it'd be like Forrest or something. I'll be like, dude, God.
Yeah, it's Ferry. The S is silent.
There we go. See, we got this. Tennessee education wins today. Welcome in, though, sir. Happy to have you here, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Having me. Dude, shout out Jeremy.
Yeah, dude, Jeremy is a real one. We'll have Jeremy on hopefully after his tour, so a few weeks or so.
Yeah,
we'll have him. Jeremy is awesome.
Jeremy.
Dude, it's
love that guy.
The metal scene is just full of awesome people. Like if you would have told me that, you know, when you're growing up and you see like old metalheads and it's like all in black and everything, which is obviously like my wardrobe now, so I guess I'm that person. But they look mean until you start like hanging out, and literally like the scene, the underground scene, is some of the nicest human beings you will ever meet.
Yep.
Like you see like tattoos, gauges, everything, all black, and then you walk up and they're just like, bro, you need a hug? Like, they're just like the coolest people, and I love it. It's,
yo, you want $5?
Yeah, seriously, like they're just so welcoming, awesome people. I mean, there are assholes for sure, but
that's everybody.
For the most part, it's like awesome people. All right, so let's I like to let you have the floor for a little bit and just kind of introduce yourself, tell a little bit about yourself, and get everybody acquainted.
So I'm Zach. I have been doing vocals for probably, I don't know, 8-ish years now. What's really funny is I made fun of metal the first time I heard it. I originally lived in Texas. I live in Salt Lake City now, but my friend was showing me Oh Sleeper, and then he showed me like old Asking, and I was like, dude, what is this crap? Turn it off. This is not gonna cut it. And he's like, bro, just trust me. Just like go home. Just like really listen to it. Just like get into it. I'm like, all right. So I go home and I start playing the songs. I'm like, damn it, dude, they're actually kind of sick. And then I really got into it. And at the time, I was still doing like drums because in high school I was in drumline. So like, I thought I wanted to be like a drummer and like do like jazz band stuff, which I still love jazz. Jazz is like one of my favorite genres of music. But I started really listening to a lot of bands, you know, like Architects and Bad Omens and Day to Remember and Wage War, and I was just like, damn, bro, like this is really cool. And at the time, I could not sing at all. Couldn't sing, couldn't hold a tune, couldn't like scream for anything. And I was like, man, I really want to get into this. And I started watching the like Melissa Cross stuff. Andy Sizik, he has some really cool videos on YouTube back in the day, and I was like, yeah, this is really cool. So I tortured my family for months and years, and now we're here. So
hell yeah, dude. Andy, man, he's a real one too. Andy's a really good dude.
Dude, he's a powerhouse, man.
That is crazy talented. Like he makes stuff look easy. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
So that actually segues great into another question. So you already kind of answered it, but did you play instruments before you got into vocals? You said drums. You were in drumline.
I was in drumline in high school, which is funny enough. I made fun of that too before I did it. I was in middle school, and I was in like middle school band, and they're like, hey, yeah, you know, next year when you go to high school, you can join the marching band. I was like, you will never catch me in that big ass hat with the little feather on top. Absolutely not. Why would I do that? And then my first year in drumline, I was on cymbals and we didn't get a hat. And I was jealous. I was like, bro, where's my freaking hat? You know? So it's like, it sounds so weird, but like typically the things I make fun of, and it's like stupid stuff like the marching band and then like metal. It's like the stuff I like really got into. You know?
Yeah.
And that sounds like really shallow, but it's like, you know, when you're like a snot-nosed little runt kid, you're like, who the hell wants to be in a marching band? That's so weird, you know? But it was really cool. And after that, I was like, oh, maybe I should like try guitar. And I like got an acoustic guitar and tried doing like a little solo like acoustic thing when I was like 16, 17. It was really crappy, you know. But it was what really got me was the ability to, you know, actually like use the one thing I use every day, which is my voice. And I didn't know how to really use it at all. And so now that I'm able to, and like it's just a weird, like surreal thing to think about where I was like when I wanted to start doing it to now. It's crazy to me.
Okay. How long have you been doing vocals, and what got you into it? Like, what? How did you transition from like drumline and stuff and everything? Like,
And
and it's funny. A lot of vocalists actually, it's crazy. A lot of vocalists and a lot of guitar players I've noticed start on drums. There's a lot of people
yeah,
that
dude.
start with drums. The like, it's wild how many people are like, oh, dude, drums is the first thing I ever learned.
And that's because like percussion in itself is just so multifaceted. There's so many different things in percussion. Like it's not just drums. Like there's like the triangle and like maracas and like marimbas and
Yeah.
xylophones and like so many different things. And I think that's what really got me is like I'm not saying the only other route for like that much creativity within uh an instrument is vocals. Like vocals, I feel like it's almost like percussion in itself. You know, there's so many things you can do with your voice, and I think what really hooked me was the fact that I was hearing all of these bands sing songs that I related to, and they weren't on the radio. You know, I my mom and I listened to like country radio back home because I'm from Texas, so it's like that's
Yeah.
a
I mean,
given.
yeah.
But it's like none of those songs ever sat right with me. It's like, oh, I'm on my tractor drinking a beer and I'm sad. It's
This never resonates.
no, and I'm not dogging country. Like there's some
Yeah.
country songs I love to this day, dude. Like I don't remember who it's from, but it's a country song. It's like he's telling the story about like how his kid cussed in the car and like his kid wants to be him when he grows up and it's like super super cute. Um but like there weren't any songs that like sat with me that I was like, damn, dude, like that made me really revisit a lot of stuff. And that didn't happen until I actually started listening to a lot of like metalcore bands. And like granted granted, I mean there's some generic stuff. I mean like Heartbreak is a
Yeah.
pretty verse. I mean
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
most artists talk about heartbreak. It's like everyone
It's a
goes
very
through it.
relatable thing. Most people are going to get heartbreak in their life.
Yeah. And like I think just being a teenager and having something that was explaining some like really deep stuff that I felt no one else was going through, but then I have this song that I can play and it's like, you just described the exact feeling I have. That's so crazy. And I was like, man, you know what would be cool if I could do that?
Yeah.
If I could do that for somebody else, you know, like what if I could do that for some kid who was just like me, you know? And that's really what got me. I was like, man, I want to do what they're doing. They're actually like they hooked me in, you know, like I pretend like I'm like the hardest dude ever. I'm such a soft little baby. And like I cry to like Pixar movies. I'll cry if like a butterfly like lands on my finger. I'm such a baby. But it was the fact that I wanted to do something. And I think that's a lot of people's inherent like internal thing is they want to leave something behind in the world, you know? And a lot of people don't really know how to go about it. And you can go about it so many different ways. So many different ways. Making art. Like there are so many different ways. And I was like, I want to do that, but music, because I love music more than anything. And my dad loved music. He got me into like EDM stuff, other story. But it was really just the fact that I would have the ability to hopefully give someone a sense of like belonging and like that they're going through something that isn't just them, you know. And that was what 8 years ago, I think, when Asking Alexandria put out their album, their self-titled, with Danny coming back,
Yeah.
is when I like really started. So I was starting to put like I was in the car and I would just like post like a 30-second clip to Instagram at the time of just me in my car. And I was like, this sounds like booty cheeks, but I'm gonna try it. And then people would comment and they're like, hey, you should like actually like do that. You should like get recording stuff and do that. And I was like, all right, how do I do that? And so I did. And then like during COVID, started posting like little covers in like my bedroom. And then I actually got like, and I think at that time I was using GarageBand with like the Apple headphones. I'd hold them like right here and I would just scream my little heart out. Excuse me. And then when I finally got like recording equipment, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I think the first cover I put out with recording equipment was Playing with Fire by Chelsea Grin. And it was atrocious. It was so atrocious. But
Dude, that's you're talking about, and we'll talk more about lyrics here in a minute. But the country thing, I definitely feel that. Like for me, and there's great country songs, but no way are we like shitting on country. You know, there's great songs out there, but it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't really resonate. Like especially when you're growing up and you're in your teens and all that stuff, or 20s, whatever. Like most of the time, like at least for me, it didn't resonate. Like I was like, okay, that song's cool, but I don't relate to it.
No, and it's hard to resonate too with people who are that young, who like they're so pissed off at pretty much everything, and so it's really hard to like actually get a message into someone's head when they're like, I hate school, hate my teachers, hate my parents, I hate that music. What is that? No.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And one thing with like the metal genre and stuff, like I feel like the lyrics are like they're not where country like you said, like stuff about a tractor and things like that. Like it's a little more like tunnel vision, like this is what we're talking about, like, and it's pretty clear cut where it's a little more open ended with like metal and stuff like how you write something obviously may mean something very personal to you, and they'll be like, hey, this is what it means to me, but first time I hear it, it could affect me. Like I'll be like, well, I associate that with what happened in my life at this point, like I connect with that. And
I think that's just the cool thing about metal is like it's not that it can't be feel good music, but it typically is like, hey, I'm going to talk about the things most people don't want to talk about, because as in terms of like radio, it's like, why would we want sad stuff on the radio? But it's like that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, nice, dude, and we'll talk more about lyrics because I definitely want to dive into that. You mentioned you kind of got into it in COVID. What how did you learn to start like screaming and all, and screaming and singing, like both sides, because you do both really well, sir. So I am very curious. Like I want to know how you first started. Like what did you just start screaming and you're like, okay, this works, this doesn't work, like my throat hurts, or did you find any tutorials, do any exercise, like how did you get into it?
Yeah, it's so weird, dude. So I think there was a pipeline for me. And it was, I found metalcore and then I found deathcore.
Oh,
right. And my first deathcore band I don't know.
Okay, before metalcore, so what were your gateway bands? This is something I do like to ask people. Like, I don't know if I've asked it on the interview yet, but gateway bands are a real thing because a lot of people go from the radio rock to a little harder, a little more edgy to then you start bridging the gap. With me back in the day, it was like Kill Switch Engage, Into Heartache album, and then like old Atreyu, and Bullet for My Valentine, stuff like that started bridging me, and then I just full send into the harder stuff.
Yeah, it really was like my friend showing me, like asking Alexandria No Sleeper, and then I hit like the little radio thing on Spotify and just pulled up a whole playlist. So I just went through that, and I started hearing like Wage War, Bad Omens, because again, I was late to the game as far as like being a metal fan.
Yeah.
So when people were like, yo, did you hear that album like 7 years ago? I'm like, no, I didn't, but I will now, But it was Wage War, Architects, Bad Omens, Pierce the Veil was in there. I liked Pierce the Veil a lot. I also had like a weird Marilyn Manson kick for a minute, because I think the 2016 album, Heaven Upside Down or something, I was like, this is sick. These are some cool songs. But then I got into Suicide Silence, and that's where I was like, I want to do that also.
That I don't know what my resurgence with them is, but here lately, You Only Live Once, dude, it's been on repeat for me so much. I think it's just the guitar riff is
Yeah.
stuck in my head so bad.
I still like No Time to Bleed is still like my favorite. And what's crazy is that got me to make my first ever like band. It was an online project and we wanted to do like some old Suicide Silence stuff. And we did one song and then we just like disbanded because we were like kids. But I wanted to do harsh vocals because I was like, this is the cool thing. This is the cool thing, I think. This is what's gonna I'm gonna skyrocket doing freaking deathcore, you know? And not that my throat hurt, but there was just something off.
Yeah.
There was something off. And the weirdest part is up until what was it? Like mid last year, I realized that like my mid screams were wrong. They were so wrong.
Okay.
And it's not that they didn't sound bad. It was the fact that, I do like 6, 7 covers a day at that point. I was banging them out,
Wow.
trying to make videos. And so I'm in my car for like 3, 4 hours, just doing that. And again, it's not like my throat hurt, but it was just something was off, you know? Like next day my voice was maybe a little deeper.
Yeah.
I was like, there's something off, you know? So I revisited it and I realized I was pushing way too hard. And fixed it obviously. But it was like a weird little tweak.
It's
But as
weird
far
how
as the
you can
singing,
feel that too. Like the
yeah,
vocals, you can definitely
yeah.
tell you're like, my voice feels great, or like
Mhm.
something is not right now. Like something is not good.
Yeah.
We need to.
And
Okay.
I'll explain later too, why there was things I was doing that I wasn't supposed to be doing as far as like water intake. And I'll get into that. But um the singing part, it was it's weird. Um I always say I couldn't carry a tune. It was more like I didn't know how to. I didn't really know how to sing correctly, I guess, because everyone has their idea of like singing in their head.
Yeah.
When they're like, "Hey, sing me a song." Like happy birthday,
Yeah.
right? But like there was so much more involved in it that I didn't know. And like I didn't have to exert as much as I thought I did. Or like the high notes I wanted to hit weren't impossible because again it's not as hard as most people would probably think. Um, but it was a weird time because at the start it was all screams. I didn't want to sing at all. And then it became, well, I kind of want to sing more because people they want to sing along to something, and that's kind of cool to sing along to songs. And so I started doing that, and then I was like, that's so crazy. I don't know why I didn't think about just combining them. And so me loving architects as much as I did, I was like, what's that little? How does he sing? How do you do that? Like Landon Tours, plotting you. He does the same thing. That pitch scream stuff. And that's really where I was like, that. How do I do that?
Yeah.
How do I get there? And I was like, just take it and combine it, and it clicked, and there we are.
That's crazy. I wonder if most people, if they learn screaming before singing. I feel like it's the other way most times, isn't it? Like most singers are like, all right,
Mhm.
well, how do I learn to do harsh to like add
Yeah,
more, emotion
yeah.
and
I'm also intrigued with that. I've never actually thought about that, like, because I screamed first,
yeah.
sang second, but also
Do you think it's
another thing
easier
with
doing
that.
that? Do you think it was an easier route? Like, did it just make more sense because you already had a grasp on screaming?
I Me personally, I can't answer like if anyone else will have the same answer, but for me personally, yes. And the only reason is because the whole idea of using to I just messed up English. Learning to use your stomach,
Yeah.
and like all the stuff here and what not to do. It was how do I get the same air from screaming but do it with singing because again it's not as much air as you think, and it's like literally as simple as like if you were across a parking lot from me and you're like, hey, that's literally the only air you need for both. And so I think you know I don't know. Yeah, screaming for sure. First for me, it really kind of set the tone of what kind of air needs to be utilized and where it needs to go and how long and all that stuff.
And like you said,
Yeah.
there's a ton of similarities, and that's one reason we're doing this is just
Mhm.
because singing to screaming. I talked to a guy that's been a musician for almost 20 years, and I was like, "Do
Wow.
you ever do like warm ups or anything?" And he was like, "I blow. I'll get a straw and I'll stick in like a water bottle and I'll blow." I'm like,
Yeah.
"That's one of the things." Like,
Yeah.
okay, like there's so many
Hmm.
similarities because you're using pretty much the same stuff. You're pushing with your
Yep.
diaphragm, like all that stuff, and so it's
Hmm.
really cool. So
Yeah. That
when
that trick
oh, go ahead.
that trick works.
Oh
That
yeah,
trick
yeah.
works.
That's in my routine for sure.
Hmm.
So when you were learning and you were just starting to get a feel for it and you were, you know, working hard on your deathcore and all that stuff, was there a moment when you were screaming that you were like it all clicked? You know, you had like an aha moment. You were like trying to figure it out and then you're like, "Oh, got it. Like I
Yeah.
know what I'm doing. Like this makes sense."
Yeah. It was because when I was like really learning, it was I would need to warm up for like 30, 40 minutes,
Oh, wow.
really get into. Yeah, I was being super careful because I didn't want to mess up. I didn't
Yeah.
want to do something wrong because all these videos you see, it's like if you do this, it's going to hurt you. And I'm like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
So um it was a lot of warming up, but what clicked for me was I had a video, I can't remember who it was from, but there was a guy who was like, "Hey, just like make random sounds with the same technique you use for screaming. Just make random sounds and move your mouth weird shapes and move your tongue around your mouth and like make like that kind of face, like make weird faces and mouth shapes and tongue placement." And I was like, "Okay." So I went in my car and on my way home from work, I'm like doing that. And there was a point where it was the whole not pushing as hard thing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, there it is. And I tried it again, and I tried it again, and I tried it again. I was like, okay, that kind of works. And then the next cover I did back when I did that, and it was considerably easier and less time consuming. Because with my covers, I do line by line,
Oh,
you know, and so I'm there for a
very
minute. I'm
tedious.
very tedious. I'm really picky. Um, I'm like the most picky, but it's
That's a good thing
it
though.
became
That's a
yeah,
good thing,
yeah.
especially with vocals. Like that's, I mean, with any instrument, but it's a good thing.
Yeah. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, you're your own
But
worst critic, but the end
yeah,
product, I mean,
it's worth
yeah,
it.
it's
It's worth
100% worth
it,
it.
it works. But it really was just like if I stop overthinking, that's when it really hit. It was you're overthinking. I'm a clinical overthinker. But it was the moment when I stopped overthinking it and I was like, you're doing it right because I have all kinds of screams. It's my mid screams that weren't right, but like the low screams and like my high screams I got from listening to Mitch, and they're like wicked high. And like, I
Yeah.
don't mean to like brag, but I think my highs are pretty wicked. But it was more just the whole stop overthinking thing, and then it clicked, and it was just I didn't have to warm up anymore because I already knew what the feeling was. It became a muscle memory at that point. So now it's a switch, you know? And that's the cool part is when it stops becoming, oh, I need to warm up to get into it to, oh, let me turn it on and off real quick.
Yeah. So before you do vocals, you mentioned it used to be 30, 40 minutes. Do you
Hmm.
have a routine you do now? And does it change at all depending on variables? Like,
Hmm.
if you're going to be on the road or you're going to be doing shows or you're going to the
Yeah.
studio or you don't feel well, you're under the weather, does it
Yeah.
fluctuate? And what all do you do?
There's so many variables. Because back in Texas, the air is muggy and just bad, pollen everywhere. So I had sinuses and like, I'm a little sick
Sinuses
right
will
now.
ruin you. Sinuses are the
Oh my God.
devil.
Yeah. It's bad, man. And like, here in Salt Lake, like when I moved here, the air I haven't had allergies since I moved here,
Oh, that
and that
sounds
was
awesome.
back in like February. Yeah, it's so sick. But I went to Texas this past weekend, and now I have allergies and I'm sick. So it's great. But as far as like what I do now, like I said, it's become more of like an on and off switch, and I don't really know how to explain that other than like if you were to do an impression of Cookie Monster, you could instantly do that
Yeah.
because you know what it sounds like and what that would feel like. You know, like everyone knows, like me eat cookies. Like
Yeah.
everyone knows what he sounds like. You know, but like me, I know where it's at, where it's coming from, how it's going to come out.
It's the muscle memory at this point. Like you
Right.
know when it's time to sing, like what you're about to do. Like it just
Yep.
how it should be.
And and I've had people because I'm a smoker, right? And I smoke a lot. Uh, and people are like, "How do you still sing when you smoke?" I'm like, "Well, that I don't know. I can't answer you on that." But for some reason, people think that helps. I'm like, it doesn't help for sure. Um, but there, I feel like there's ways around. If you have like a soda, something carbonated before you sing, it's probably not the best idea,
Yeah.
right? Same with smoking. Like I try to avoid smoke. So like we went to the studio and I'm like in the shower. Showers help. Showers are great before doing vocals. At least for me. I don't know about anyone, but like inhaling that like really warm air.
Yeah. Probably like
Um,
clears the nasal passages and stuff.
yeah, yeah. And then I will do like lip rolls. Right now, that's probably my biggest thing is like lip rolls.
Mm-hmm.
And then doing it sounds really weird. It's like, yeah, like that, just over and over. And then the cup with the straw in it, blowing bubbles into that.
Yep.
That helps get you some high notes. I don't know why it works, just does. Um, and then we were at the studio, and then I told our producer, I was like, "Hey, I'm not going to smoke." And he's like, "Actually, you should probably keep smoking because your body is used to that." So like, you take away something that your body's used to, and you're trying to exert a lot of energy into something, it's gonna sound different. I was like, that's
Hmm.
so crazy. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
And then I had some like warm tea made, and everyone was like, "Hey, be careful with that." I was like, "What do you mean?" So I thought like warm tea was like the thing to do, get your like throat feeling nice. He's like, "Well, if the only thing you're changing is the temperature of the thing you need, that's gonna change how it's gonna sound."
Yeah.
I was like, "Damn!" I was like, "What?" I didn't even think about that. And so like room temp water. I had a whole jug, room temp water. But it really is, and now I'm starting to drink more water because being hydrated in the first place is like the key. And I didn't really fully understand that when I started, but that is such a huge, huge factor. That and like good sleep. And it's like that's when your body recharges, man. Like it can't recharge if you don't have water. And I'm like, I can't believe I was like so dumb to not even like think about that. And but now it's mainly just it being an on off switch. And if it's like a day where I wake up and I might have like been snoring all night, my mouth's open, hot and dry, I might actually do some warm ups, but definitely as far as like shows go, those will be days where I'm gonna take some time and like really, really warm up because that's kind of the whole point of
Yeah.
being in a band. So I want to sound as good as I can. But yeah,
Hot tea, I never drink it before vocals. My thing is like always do it after. It's not like I don't know if it. I don't really know how much it helps. Like the honey and the lemon, like all that stuff in it's
Mhm.
good. Whatever. I think it's more of a not necessarily help or like maybe it's like a throat coat, but it's the soothing. It helps a little bit of the
Yeah,
irritation. From where
yeah,
parts probably do irritate.
yeah.
And I remember
That
when
would
I
be
was playing a lot of shows. I would never ever drink cold water. It was always like you said, like
yeah,
lukewarm, like room temperature bottled water.
yeah.
And someone one day asked, and I was like, I don't know. And then someone else, I was like, I don't know. It's what I'm used to. I drink warm water.
Mhm,
And then someone else, they
mhm,
brought them. It was like another vocalist, a cold bottle of water, and they're like, no, that will
mhm.
mess me up. Like I
It's gonna
need,
shrivel up your vocal cords, man. It's
yeah.
gonna
And
like
so
make them tight,
I was
you
like,
know.
wow, okay. I was doing stuff right without even knowing it. I was just like, okay,
Yeah,
whatever. I'll take the warm water, but it was actually much
yeah.
better.
And the thing with the tea too is like it's good when you're because we were in the studio, dude. Shit, you not. We were there for one weekend, and it's like I'm in there for 10 plus hours just singing the whole time, you know, and
I need
like
to know what that
I
life's like because our studio stuff was like opposite. It was like drums took whatever, like a day or 2 days or whatever, and then guitar took like the entire time, and then studio time was about up, and they were like, "All right, go get it, whole album." I was like, "Are you kidding me right now?" It's like I
That's
had like
crazy.
hours to like just. It was less than a day of just. They were like, "Let's go, 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 go." So I was like,
Yeah,
thanks, guitar players, thanks guys. You
mhm.
needed those extra layers.
It is crazy, man. Like, and I think that's the cool part about like the whole like, because I have like really bad anxiety. So like the thought of like, and I played a couple shows, but like the thought of like, oh, now it's actually like you need to be up there and it's going to be like 25, 30 minutes. And it's kind of cool because I think doing covers in my car for hours on end, you know, kind of it gives you a little stamina, and so
Oh yeah, for
I'm
sure.
kind of grateful that I started with that and not trying to like do a band so early. I mean, I did have a few like online stuff, but the the anxiety of like doing shows or like doing vocals for 30 minutes, it's like not even like a worry anymore, just because it's the practice became the covers.
Yeah,
Like the warm-ups became my covers. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
yeah, I
Yeah.
got you. And
Yeah.
when you go to play, when you guys start jamming out on stage,
Hmm.
you'll have, I don't know, you may have a little bit of like nerves like right before you go on, just
Oh
that
yeah.
like the
Yeah.
anxious, not like scared or anything, but like that little bit of like I'm anxious, I'm ready. But as soon
Yep.
as the intro or whatever starts, dude, it's out the window. It's just fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you'll see the crowd, you'll hit that first note, and then it's just off to the races, dude. It's a
Well,
blast.
see,
There is
and like
nothing
I
like it, literally.
really.
Yeah, just on stage. There's something
Mm,
about the energy of the,
yeah.
you jamming and seeing people respond to your music and singing back to you or moving, like dancing or mosh or anything. It's just,
Mhm.
I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's amazing.
And that's the thing is like I played so Born Anew, Born Anew?
Mm-hmm.
So they took me on 1 week of tour, but they had a fill-in vocalist, so they had me do guest spots every night, like 20, 30 seconds, minute,
Yeah.
whatever. Um, awesome. Super cool. Like the little taste of tour was crazy. Um, but it was different because all I had to do was hype myself up for a 30-second little thing,
Yeah.
and
So you
I
can just
got
go
excited and
wild
I
and
was
then you're done.
yeah, right. But now it's like, damn, I'm gonna have to be up there the whole time.
Yeah.
And like it gets me hype, but I get like butterflies in my stomach. And I'm like, dude, it's gonna be so, so awesome, especially for like the band. Um, you know, I I just can't wait to actually be on a stage with everybody and just see their dumb little smiles, you know?
That's always the best. You turn, you look at them, and they just smirk at you
Yeah,
like mid song or
yeah.
breakdown or whatever. And you're just like, okay, yeah, we're all having
You're
fun.
like, hey, hey, look at us.
I always liked messing with the drummer. That was my favorite thing. I loved screwing with him the whole time, and
I'm gonna do that.
he hated me, but it was fun.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
constantly like just always something, acting like I'm a mess with a cymbal or just doing something like whenever it's not a vocal part, and he's just like
yeah,
drumming back there like I hate you so much, like leave my stuff alone.
yeah.
All right, so what do you do for vocal care whenever you're not singing, screaming, anything? Do you do anything? Are you just a machine? Are you the prototype?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you.
Oh, I'm
Um,
excited.
and I'm not advising anyone does this. It's just I don't know. People ask me all the time why it works, but it does. I drink a shit ton of wine and chain smoke. That's my job. Literally requires me to talk on the phone, kind of all day, and I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's the secret is just to drink wine. I don't know. Don't do that, but that's I don't have anything that actually take care of my vocals. That probably sounds really bad. But I have cut out a lot of like unhealthy food, which is actually like I cook all my food.
Yeah.
I go to the like this is like little Asian market down the street, and that food is like on ice, so it's like it's fresh today. Like you got to eat that today, you know. And I cook all the food. Like for me and my girlfriend, we have really really cool stuff, and that has made us feel probably 20 times better than like getting some Wendy's, you
Oh yeah.
know. And I think that's played a part, at least for me, because I, used to have to really, take a minute, get hydrated, and then go do, 4 hours of covers in the car. Like all the ones that are posted on like my TikTok and my Instagram, those were all done in like 1 week, and like I have like so many more that are ready.
That's
And then
insane.
I just filmed the video with the audio and then there you go. But yeah, I probably
Wine
should
and chain
start.
smoking.
Yeah, I should probably start actually taking care of it,
Well, you
especially,
you also said you hydrate a lot and you get rest, and that's big.
yeah.
That's big components for
It's
sure.
That's really the two components that you should really worry about, like if you really want to maximize it. Like I remember seeing a clip of I can't remember his name, Disturbed singer.
Yeah, I know
I
you're
can't
talking
remember
about
his name.
David
But
something, right? Is it David?
he was saying that he cuts out, he doesn't drink soda, he doesn't smoke, inhale anything. He goes to bed at like 8 p.m. and after shows he doesn't talk with his voice. I was like, that, granted, at the level they're at, that's really freaking important.
Yeah,
But it's like, I don't know. I'm sure, when we have shows down the line, it's, I'm probably gonna do the most I can to take care of it and, probably stop or minimal smoking. But it's a hard habit to kick. But as far as like right now, I kind of just live like normal.
yeah.
Um, it's not really something I think about just because it's that switch. And nothing I've done throughout the day has ever hindered me from doing vocals. The only thing that's ever hindered me is being sick, and that's just a given. I mean, your throat is knives, you're coughing up your lungs and snotty nose, and yeah.
Yeah, it's rough.
So,
I know after shows, you were talking about what he does. I've
mhm.
seen Will from Lorna Shore, him talk about like he has his full routine. He warms up. It's like all the stuff he does, which he does insane stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
and for a good reason. I mean, that man
yeah,
is pushing so
dude,
much energy out for.
it's
I saw him at Sick New
wild.
World, and I was like, you for a whole set. I mean, it was just like nonstop.
It's it's mind blowing, honestly. And now he's
Yeah.
singing more, and I'm just like, dude, stop! Like, oh my god, it's
Hmm.
so good. But anyways,
Yep.
he when he finishes, he said, "I'm an old man. I'll do like
Hmm.
the set wraps up. He will do vocal cool downs, which I had never heard of until then. So you do like
That is a
these
thing.
vocal cool downs, and then he does that
Yeah.
until his tea's ready. And then he said, I pretty much don't talk. Like I'll go the merch stand. He's like, and then
Hmm.
I'm the first one in bed. He's
Hmm.
like, I'll talk, but like the key is, and I was guilty of this too. Like you would
Hmm.
finish a show, and you're hanging out with the other bands and the homies, and you're out there, and the
You're like,
music's loud,
yeah,
and you're yelling, and
yeah,
then next thing you're like, oh, like I just screamed a whole set, and then I'm out here yelling like an idiot for the next like
yep,
hour and a half or whatever into the
yeah.
night. Yeah.
You
So
can ask my drummer too. We went to Sick New World. I was screaming the whole time. I was like, yeah, every band, every song. I was losing my mind. But if I had known, like, if there was like going to be a show the next day, I wouldn't be doing that.
you'd be screaming a little quieter. Like,
Hmm. Yeah, just be like, yeah, just like mouthing it. But that's definitely something. The vocal cooldowns, I've had days where a cover's just not happening, where I'm just like not feeling it, you know. And I'll just like for fun just turn on the radio and just like sing along to a song and I feel better. Um, but yeah, that's cool. I kind of like that vocal cooldowns. It's almost like running and then you do like a little
yeah.
jog,
And it's
you
like,
know.
it was, I'm trying to remember, it was a false chord exercise, I think he was doing. It was just like a little, like,
Interesting.
almost like growl hum thing he would do.
Mm,
Just like a
yeah,
little like something like that, but like different shapes and
yeah,
sounds and stuff. And he would just do that for a
yeah.
couple minutes till his tea was ready. And I was like, wow.
Hmm.
I mean, dude knows what he's doing. So I was like,
I was about to
I've
say,
never heard that. So
I should probably
that's
take some notes.
yeah. All right. So lyrics, where do you pull from when it comes to lyrics? Or is it like personal experiences? I'm assuming probably so, based on how we started this interview. Or do you go for like themes and concepts? What do you do? Like what is your go to?
So collectively we all write lyrics
Oh, nice.
as a band, which I think is like the coolest part about us. Like I've never been involved in a project where it was like that.
So like
Well,
everybody
sort
comes
of.
in with notes, like and like, hey, let's. This is
Hmm.
the song idea.
Yeah,
That's sick.
everyone has their own notes they have, and we'll like send them to each other and like share them with each other, and then we kind of just like combine sometimes. But there's also, I mean, there's been times where it's like, oh, like Jake wrote one song, and then like Shane wrote another song, and like Dawson wrote another song, and then I wrote one. You know, it's that's what's cool. And then like there's somewhere it's like, oh, like we'll write, all these ones together, and um we also had like help from Ben Hoagland from Extortionist. He helped us a lot with some lyrics. Shout out Ben, I love him to death. Big kisses and smooches. But as far as it's like Tooth and Nail, for example, that was I did I guess an audition. They sent me the demo, and I put some vocals on it, sent it back to them, and those lyrics haven't changed really. I'd say maybe 4 or 5 lines, maybe six, have changed. But for the most part, those lyrics were pretty much just I was dating someone else at the time, and I wrote about what it would feel like to lose who you're with. And at that time, I was obsessed with "Without Me" by Dayseeker,
Great band.
and great band, great song. And so it was just another kind of like, well, how would someone feel if they lost me? Like, or how would they feel knowing that, like, if they're the ones that left, like, how would they feel knowing how I feel? And or vice versa. So, um, as far as lyrics, Tooth and Nail was more of a personal thing, but as far as like other stuff, like it's really like collectively us. Like that's what's really cool. And there's been times where it's like I have nothing here, and the guys are like, "Oh, put this," and we're like, "Yeah, that works." So
That's awesome. I know a
yeah.
lot of bands. I mean, it may be like one or two songwriters, but not usually the whole collective band. So that's really sick. Only
Mhm.
I've heard of. I think it's Stray does that.
Mm.
And they will sit down and unless someone has like no ideas and they're like they have nothing to
Hmm.
contribute, they'll be like, I'm out of this one. You guys handle it.
Yeah,
But that's really sick and definitely gives more ownership to the song as a whole for the collective
yeah,
unit.
yeah. That's what's cool too. Is like our producer Blue. He also I think helped us with a few lyrics. Given a phrase or like something that like you wouldn't think of. Like some like words you've never thought about using. I don't really know how else to explain that, but
Yeah.
like thesaurus words
Yeah.
almost.
This. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just what's cool is like everyone in like the little circle that we have is just it's a collective thing. And that's like the coolest shit ever to me.
That's awesome, man. That's really awesome.
Hmm.
So when it comes to lyrics, since you pull from personal things, which I feel like, especially in this line of music, it's don't get me wrong, you can definitely have emotion and put
Hmm.
some feeling behind like a concept or like
Yeah.
something you really you're really stoked
Hmm.
about. Like if you wrote a song, you were showing me some of your stuff earlier. You wrote a song about like Venom or something, right? Like
Yeah.
it's something like you're like stoked about. You can get into
Hmm.
it, but it's not the same as like you said it. Someone losing you or you losing someone. Like that's a
Yeah.
whole different feeling and emotion that you're conveying, and you will get more into it usually. Um, but I want to know: is there a lyricist or like anybody, a songwriter that inspired you, you looked up to, or continue, or still look up to?
Yeah. And so I gotta go with architects just because at the time I was very big on like, damn, like the whole existentialism thing of like the world ending. Like I was into like The Walking Dead and like World War Z. So I was very much like, damn, the world might end one day.
All about them zombies, huh?
Government doesn't care about me, blah 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 blah. Oceans are freaking going away, fish are dying, which still isn't untrue. It's just more like I was like, that's really cool because a lot of their lyrics can kind of have like a double meaning.
Yeah.
But um, definitely like architects, um, I think who was it I was listening to?
Sam Carter's vocals and lyrics are really,
Dude,
really good.
he's nuts. Movements too. Movements really got me as far as lyrics. Um, I think I heard 19 and I like sobbed my eyes out. uh, it's just being able to convey something like personal, but make it seem not personal
Yeah.
in a weird way. Um, I don't know how really else to explain that. That's like what I try and do now, where it's like it's personal, but you make it seem more not cryptic, but not poetic. I don't know. I don't know how to really explain what I'm saying, but basically, like having the personality there, but making it more like a song.
Yeah. I got you.
So yeah.
Nice. So Sam, man, I was not expecting Sam. I was waiting on Dayseeker. I was waiting on Rory to pop in there as one that really into.
Dude, I got in Dayseeker last year. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, I haven't been in Dayseeker that long myself, and they
Yep.
instantly become like. First, it was like a guilty pleasure. Like I would listen to other stuff. I'm like Dayseeker time, like doing whatever. I'm listening to Dayseeker. Now it's just me and the wife. I'll be like, hey, put something on while we're driving, and she'll go to Dayseeker. I'm like, good choice.
Yeah.
Like this works very well. They're awesome though. So, do you have a favorite lyric?
Ooh.
I know that's
okay.
that's a hard one because it really.
Well.
I guess it also depends on where you are in your life on what lyric is like.
Mhm.
What you're really resonating with. But
Mhm.
gotta ask you the hard hitting questions here.
Yeah, I'll give you two answers.
Okay.
So my all-time favorite lyric is from something that isn't released.
We got a
That's
first here. We get a teaser.
that's all I'm gonna say. But my favorite lyric from Tooth and Nail um, is chasing down the fall. I keep missing all my calls, and it was weird because at the time when I wrote it, I didn't know what it meant, which sounds really weird. But after the whole thing that happened, like just like the breakup and like moving and all that stuff, it was really like I had a point where I was actually actively chasing things that were going to make my life a living hell. Like drinking way too much, and like not sleeping and not going out and hanging out with anybody, just isolating.
Yeah.
It's like chasing down the fall. It's you just doing things that are just going to not be good for you. And then missing all my calls. That's pretty self-explanatory. But that's my favorite lyric is because it didn't hit me until way after the fact. And then I heard the song in like its entirety, like context. I was like, damn, that hits me. You know. So yeah.
You're not gonna tell me the other lyric, are you?
Mm-mm.
Fair.
I
I
can't.
tried. I tried to get a
No,
little
you're
sneak
good.
peek.
You're good. I
I
gotta.
tried.
I gotta be
All right.
quiet.
So, do you have tips for new songwriters as far as like lyrically, patterns, flow, anything like that?
I actually have somebody who's asking me that same question right now. He texted me earlier today, and I need to text him back. um, it as far as lyrics go, like I think people, and I'm still guilty of this, but I think people try really hard to seem not to seem anything, but like to make it sound more poetic or more like listener friendly. But really, it just is like if you can, if you're writing something personal, which 9 times out of 10 it is, um, just write it as if you're writing to someone that you want to tell it to, and then figure out a way to make it rhyme.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, and there's times too where you don't have to rhyme because there's even stuff in the song like some of the stuff doesn't rhyme.
Yeah. We don't
You
have to
know,
rhyme.
it's
You don't
just
always have to
it's
rhyme.
just the way you pronounce it.
Yeah.
You know, but as far as like flow goes, it's really hard. But one thing I found is if you don't have lyrics, don't try and write lyrics. If you're trying to find flow, what I do is I use numbers. Um, so let's say like the band sent me a demo, right? And I'm trying to figure out what I want, maybe the chorus to sound like. I'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, some
Yeah.
numbers because you can have the same syllables. You don't have to worry about lyrics. but it's just a super easy little trick. I just use numbers, and it's worked pretty well so far.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. I've never thought
Yep.
about using numbers, but that does make a
Mhm.
lot of sense.
Yep, it's just super. You don't have to think about it.
Um, dude, that hell yeah. So I know you haven't done a live show yet, but in when you were doing the guest spots, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Not gonna trick you now, but did you have a favorite call out? Did you get to do a call out? I know it was only short spots.
Oh man.
Or if it's not a call out you got to do you have a favorite call out that like another vocalist has done that you're always like, that's awesome?
Oh shit.
Like for example, I was watching I think it's Body Snatcher. And I've referenced this before, but Kyle, they're stupid heavy. Like literally that's the only way to describe Body Snatchers. They're like ignorantly heavy. And they're this insanely heavy band, and then he'll come call outs and he'll just say like, there's no more guac at Chipotle, and then he'll go into a breakdown and people are just like, what?
I saw that, yeah.
And it's just craziness. So I always love that, and I like to see what people, because sometimes people are serious, they're just normal like angry call outs, and then there's the ones where you just say something random and then watch everything go crazy.
Yeah, no, I didn't have one that I had while I was doing that. It was more just cool, like being up there and just like seeing people go absolutely nuts. I think Brooklyn was the craziest night I've ever seen. I mean, people were throwing people on stage and just like beating them. I was like, oh my God, dude, this is crazy. But favorite, oh my God, dude. Everyone's going to know what it is before I even finish saying it. When Kubla Khan, when he goes, if you've had a hard day, make it harder. And I'm like, yeah.
Dude, I love when bands just have like random call outs.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Adam D used to say the most random shit. Like stuff that wouldn't even make sense for Killswitch Engage. Like he would talk about like Kentucky Fried Chicken and motor oil and like all kinds of stuff.
Oh my God.
And like his singer would even like Howard would turn around and look at him like, what are you like? What is this? Like I love stuff like that. I think it's awesome. It adds to the experience for sure.
Yeah, like I was looking forward to seeing like Bad Omens when I saw them, and I was like, oh, they're gonna do the concrete thing. The concrete. I was like, yeah.
That I've seen that. That's awesome. The concrete he does.
They're so good, dude.
It sucks about them though. They're taking a break, right? Like Bad Omens is.
Yeah.
It's like a mental break. You know what? Correct.
Dude,
like,
they deserve that though. They've been on tour for like
their rise was nuts. Like the TikTok it's just pretend, right? That went insanely viral, and they just blew
They've been
up.
touring since like freaking 2021, dude. Like nonstop.
Dude, that's crazy. That's machines out there doing that.
Dude, Noah Sebastian's unreal.
I wanted to go back just briefly to the songwriting. I had a singer talk to me one time, and he was talking about songwriting. He was like, you know what has always helped me, and one thing that I do is he said he will just literally take 5 to 10 minutes a day, and he'll just write. He'll just not think about any particular thing, just start writing. And then after he's done, he'll go back and start deciphering just like, I guess the thoughts that just pour out and like start going through them and like, okay, what is this? What are we talking about? And I always thought that was a really cool concept and exercise for like, especially for beginners, just write.
Oh yeah.
Literally just don't focus on anything, just write.
That, but also read.
Yeah. Reading is important.
That is like, I could probably say most people stop reading books after school because you're like forced to read books and you're like, why the hell would I want to read a book? But as of like last year, now I have like a whole like bookshelf. But like I got back into reading, and it's way easier to actually come up with a story as far as like what you want to say. Like I want to write a song about trees.
Okay.
And I just read a book about, the Lord, like, let's say I read like Lord of the Rings, very descriptive, or like the Chronicles of Narnia, like both have lots of trees. You know what I mean? So it's just like, for me now, it's mainly like I read a lot, or if I hear a lyric in a song, it's like, how can I take that one sentence and turn that into a song? But yeah, reading, I feel like for me at least, is like the easiest way to come up with, different things I want to talk about, or even just like, um, I'm a huge like movie soundtrack guy. I love movie soundtracks. They are goated. I think people sleep on them. But listening to movie soundtracks kind of inherently makes you think about your life. It's like a weird, at least for me, it's like a weird thing. I like drive. It's like the sun setting. I'm listening to like, I don't know, like Hans Zimmer in the back. I'm like, damn, life is crazy. What's happened in my life the last 3 months? And then it's like, you don't have to hear any lyrics. You're just thinking about stuff.
Yeah.
And then you go home and you write down like what you thought about, So kind of just like the same thing you were saying, where it's just writing. It's, yeah.
So you like instrumental stuff, like
Oh,
orchestra,
yeah.
instrumental,
Big
all that.
time.
Oh yeah,
Big time.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the stuff. That's awesome stuff to listen to.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, so we've talked about vocal care, what you do warm ups. So studio,
Mhm.
you're going to the studio.
Mm.
You just said when you're in the studio, it's like 10 hours. What do you
Yeah.
do to get ready? You shower. You did the shower. You
Shower
didn't
hard.
drink hot tea before, and
Mhm.
yeah. So
Yeah. I was
did you do
staying
anything
at,
special, or did you just do the normal warm ups that you normally do, or was there anything else you added to your routine a little bit?
yeah. So when I came up here, I didn't live here yet, but I flew up here. It was actually my first time meeting the band. And it's like the first day, it's like, all right, studio. And it's like, hi, I'm Zach. It was so cool. But I stayed the night at Dawson's house, my guitarist. And I woke up really early. I think we started at like 8 or 9, can't remember, in the morning. And we were there till like 10 p.m. It was crazy. But I took a shower. We went and got breakfast. I got a breakfast sandwich. I got some tea. I got some water. The night before, I think I also had a little bit of tea, um, but I can't fully remember if I did or not. I think I might have. But it was also eating. Eating's another big thing. Hydration is key, but also eating. Having fuel in the tank to actually exert that much energy. Because I get tired even driving too long. I'm like, traffic sucks. I'm tired. This is crap. You know, um, Eating and hydrating is pretty much the biggest thing I was doing that weekend. And also, I wasn't like drinking. I didn't have the time or the patience to try and get like a little buzzed, and like have some fun. Like I had fun, obviously, but it's one of those things where I need to be on like my A game,
Yeah,
So I didn't really have time to like mess around, but it didn't mean I didn't have fun, because I was having fun doing what I was doing,
yeah.
But it was really just like making sure I was in bed uh, early, waking up on time, getting that shower. And in the shower, you can ask Dawson. I was doing like lip rolls, and he texted me. He's like, was that you?" And I was like, "That was me. That was me." Yep.
Um,
So.
I was always, you talk about not drinking. I don't know what started, but I would get kind of like you. I'm like a really bad critic of myself, and so
Mhm.
like all my performances, even no matter if like the rest of the band, everybody was like, "That was awesome." I'm like, "Yeah," except for the third song on this little part. I don't like
Yeah.
how this low hit, and they're just like, "Dude, what? I
Mhm.
didn't notice it." I'm like, "Well, I noticed it.
Mhm.
Not happy."
Yeah.
Like I was
Yep.
always like that, so I would never drink before shows. Like it was just a thing. It's like I
Yep.
wanted to be like I was
Mhm.
trying to be focused, trying to stay in the zone. Like you said, A game. I didn't want anything to like. I
Yep.
didn't want any crutches, like excuses, like,
Mhm.
oh well, I had too many beers before or whatever. Like
Yeah.
I didn't want anything to hinder
And
me.
that's why I love to board new guys too, because that's like that was a rule for us. It was like no one's drinking before the set. After set, have as much as you want.
Yeah,
Go ahead. But there was one night where I think I had too many shots, and like I went to do my guest part and I butchered it. It was so bad. And then I downed like 40 chicken nuggets. It was crazy. But that's like it was a lesson of like, yeah, that's a really good rule to have.
so lesson there is
Because
no 40 chicken nuggets and shots before vocals.
no,
It's
not at all. Not a
not a good
chance.
thing.
Not a chance. But it really is it's a good rule to have, and I've kept that, not that I've had shows since then, but like I've kept it in my mind as far as like when I do play shows, I'm not drinking even after. Because I don't want, I'm there to do something important to me, and I'm sure to people who are watching, but mainly to the guys that are playing with me, right? And it's like, I'm not going to sit and make a fool of myself when I have a job to do, and I need to make sure that these guys can rely on me, just as I rely on them.
Yeah.
So, at home, all you want, but it's like for me, like when we do shows and like when we're actually going to do business, it's like
Yeah.
I can't afford it.
Professional, just
No.
trying to make sure you're like 100%.
Yep.
And another thing with
So,
drinking too, like you can, if you're not in a completely clear state of mind, you can definitely screw up techniques and
yeah.
you can push too hard. You may get
Mhm.
too into it, not knowing it, and you
Mhm.
could hurt yourself. It's very possible.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is when you are inebriated, you don't know when it is that you're going to hit the point where it's too late for you, like where you're hitting that like unconscious almost state,
Yeah.
or like you're like, oh, I don't remember even playing the show. It's like, and I'm not above having a good time. Like I'm all
Yeah.
about having a good
No.
time.
Absolutely.
But like if it's like, it's something important like that, I'll manage. Like if let's say we do a tour, yeah, and it's like day 5 or 6, and like we're all going out for a beer. Like I'll have a beer. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
get like stupid, but it's like, I have a job to do and I want to be able to do it correctly and just the same as I did it last night. So yeah,
You gotta protect your instrument and stuff. Like
yeah,
it's yeah.
yeah. I can't just wake up and have a sore throat and still play.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
dude,
like
that's
I
yeah.
gotta figure it out.
It's terrible. Hell yeah, though, man. So do you have any advice for new vocalists or aspiring vocalists? Is there anything can you share some wisdom as someone who's done it for a while, sings and screams, does the best of both worlds? What
Thank
can
you.
you instill upon these youngsters out here today?
It's really simple advice, and people hate me for it, but just do it. Uh, there are so many people who, so like take like modern art for example. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, I could paint that. I'm like, okay, do it. Go and paint the canvas blue and then sell it. Do it. It seems really simple. Just go do it. If there's, I realized at some point, like, and it sounds so like cliche, but you really do only have one life. You have one shot to actually do the things you want to do. Why waste your time? Like, obviously, like, no one wants to work a 9 to 5. No one wants to pay taxes. But on top of the stuff you don't want to do, go do the things you want to do. You have the time to do it. And music is one of two universal languages on this planet besides math, right? There's math and music, it's understood everywhere. And if you have the ability to do music, do it. It's simple as that. I had a lot of like self doubt and like anxiety, which comes with pretty much anything you're gonna do. And people are like, "Oh, you're so talented." I'm like, "Thank you," but it wasn't talent; it was obsession. That's bottom line. Like any sports player will tell you, it's like it's obsession. You are obsessed with doing it. You get really good at it because you're so obsessed with it. Um, just do it. I mean, it's like super simple, but it's literally it. Just like go and do it, make it happen, figure out a way to make it happen. If you need to buy a song off of YouTube, if you need to, record a cover, like literally do it. Like, I don't know. I'm probably beating a dead horse now, but yeah, just do it.
Just do it. Nike slogan.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yep. Yep. Good slogan.
It is. And it's been an awesome interview. I really appreciate you coming on again.
Dude,
And
thanks for
also,
having me.
congratulations to you and your band. I know a lot of them are listening
Thank
and
you.
watching. The debut song popping off. It's tooth and nail.
It's
Spotify.
insane,
Go
dude.
check it out.
None of us expected that. I think like
you guys is recording too. Where did you go to record? By the way, I think did you? I don't know
so
if you told me or not.
our producer Blue, he's the guitarist of Extortionist, and his
Okay.
studio's he's 3 minutes down the road.
Oh, nice. Because the
Yeah.
quality of it, and it, especially for a debut single, and no
Yeah.
offense to any bands out there, please don't take offense, but it does not sound like a debut single. It's very polished, very
Yeah.
mature sounding. You know,
Yeah, that's all Blue, man. Well, not all Blue. It's the fact that the guys are able to write such really, really interesting stuff, and then Blue will take it and like put his little like magic dust on it, and then it's like, what in the world are we smoking right now?
yeah,
Like, what are you taking? It's like the fact that we have really good writers as far as like, Jake and Shane and Dawson, and then we have Blue putting his little sprinkle of fairy dust on it, and he just makes it super magical, and it sounds huge. It sounds like an arena thing. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I am utterly, utterly humbled and grateful that I'm even a part of something like this, and it's been, you know, surreal. I don't really have words, to be honest. Um, it's one of those things you wake up and you like check the numbers again and you're like, damn, really? Like that's really us, dude? It's like unbelievable. And like I've had horrible, horrible things in my life happen, and it's like the one thing that is good is like, well, not the one thing, because I have my amazing girlfriend. I love her to death. It's like also like the support of like my brothers in the band, and like the fact that the one thing I wanted to do is working now. It's like the one good thing is the thing I need to work for me because I love music. I wanted to do it forever.
So I need to know how was recording a music video? Because for me, it had to be one of the most
Oh my god.
awkward experiences of my
Yeah.
life. I have
Yeah.
bronchitis too, and so I like felt like death. And we were there, I don't know, 8+ hours, and they were
Yeah.
just like, "Start the song over again, go again, boys." And I'm just like, "Come on, man,
Mhm.
can I just go lay down?"
Yeah. No, it was weird because we did my solo shots first.
Oh, those are great. Don't you love those?
I
Everybody
hated
gets to
that.
watch you just look like an idiot. It's wonderful.
I hated that. But I didn't actually hate it. I loved it. It was so, so cool. And I don't know why I didn't feel super comfy. I wasn't uncomfy, but it wasn't like I'm in my zone thing. But I was like, oh, I'm just doing covers again.
Going back to your roots.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I've been doing that in front of a camera for years. I don't know why I'm so nervous right now. But it was really cool, man. Like it's that's the point where it became real for me. Where it was like, oh my, we're actually doing like a video for a song right now as a band. Like we're all here in this room right now doing it. I was like, this is unreal. Because I've never been in a music video,
Yeah.
and so it was just cool. Even like seeing the guys, like for the first, like seeing them with their instruments and like doing their thing. I was like, this is so sick, man. Like I got a little teary eyed just like watching them, because I was like,
It's
damn,
surreal.
it is. It is. It's like a whole little organism of its own.
Yeah. I'll never forget
Mhm.
we did ours, and whenever it was time to release, we got the video come back to us and stuff, and everybody was like, "All right, we'll hype it up, we'll release it at midnight." So
Mhm.
of course I was the one always doing all the stuff with like the releasing and like the business
Mhm.
stuff. And so I released it, and then I remember waking up the next morning early, and my phone had just blown up, and I was just like, "What happened?" And it was just people
Yep.
like bombarding us, like, "Dude, your video!" And I'm
Mhm.
like, "Okay, this is crazy."
Mhm.
Like it was just, like I
Yeah.
said, surreal. I don't know. It does make it feel more real, like more you're
Mhm.
doing the thing.
Yeah. Like it's one thing to put a song out, but then like, oh, we just spent 10 hours making this little video for it. And it kind of reminded me of like marching band. You put in 3, 4 months for a 10-minute show that you perform live, and it's like so worth it. And shout out Heath, our video guy, kills it every time. He did the recent extortionist videos too. And oh my gosh, dude, just the way his brain works and like how he functions, one of the coolest humans I've ever met. So freaking creative, just kills it every time.
Dude, it's you guys. So you guys are crushing it. I gotta say, the video is fantastic. I love the colors in it. Very
Thank you.
vibrant.
Hmm.
The song is amazing. Super catchy.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
you suck for that because that's gonna be stuck in my head forever. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask when do we get more? We need more. You've
Ooh.
already tried to tease me a little bit with a lyric. You know, you kind of dangle the carrot in front of me. You're like, hey, there's a lyric. It's one of my favorites, but you don't get to know it. Is there anything you can say? I know a lot of it's hush hush. Is there anything you say? Is it soon? You know, you don't have to.
I will say simply, it's sooner than you think.
Okay. What about shows? Can anybody be looking for you guys shows any soon? Anything in the works? Any tours? None of that's announced either?
That would be really cool. I don't know. I think we've like talked about like potentially doing shows. But as far as any of us know, there's nothing on the radar yet. But if there is, or like if I know or when we know, I'm sure we'll make a big old grand post.
How is the scene in Salt Lake City? I don't know much about it.
It's cool, man.
Is it really?
It is cool. I didn't realize how many bands were out here.
Really? Well, that's awesome.
Yep.
Nice. So we'll get announcements soon. Very soon. Okay.
Sooner than you think.
All right, sir. Well, I've kept you far too long. I'm going to give you the floor. Plug away all the stuff. Let people know where to find you, where to find the band, anything you want to tell them to go check out, merch, whatever. Yeah. The floor is yours.
Cool. I'll make it short and sweet. Thank you for having me, and for everyone who's been watching or still watching. Thank you for being here. I know I'm like a weird little nerd, but I really am thankful for everything that's happened so far. It's been literally the craziest thing I've ever experienced in my life. But follow us on social media. It's at KeepCloseUT. I'm pretty sure it's universal across all platforms, just at KeepCloseUT. We're on Spotify and YouTube, and I thank you. I don't know how much more I can say thank you. I don't think I can say it enough. Thank you to the band for bringing me in. Shout out Blue for producing us and listening to me sing my little heart out for 10 hours straight. Ben Hoagland, thanks for helping me write some lyrics, helping us out and hanging with us. And shout out Heath for the video. This has been a crazy 3 weeks for a song. So thank you. And thanks for having me. And shout out Jeremy for putting me on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Dude, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I really look forward to hearing your future releases and all the stuff coming up with you guys. And I wish you nothing but success. And I have faith you guys are gonna do big things. I'm stoked.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And seriously, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much. And yeah, dude, appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you guys. Love y'all.
Thank you all so much for watching this episode of Behind the Vocals featuring Zachary Farris of Keep Close. Please check out his band. Links are down below in the description. Go show them some love. They're amazing. I hope you enjoyed this episode and the conversation as much as I did. And until next time, take care of each other, and we'll see you on the next one.